Here's everything that I can tell you about buying an investment property, a real estate house hack, or a investment property that you might not live in, or even this pertains to buying a single family property that you don't intend to rent out. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to assume that you want to buy a house hack or buy a traditional investment property, as I don't recommend buying a single family home as your first one if you're looking to build and sustain wealth. But yeah, so when I was 24, I just turned 24, November of 2022, I closed on my first investment property, in which I still live in, and I rent out half of the property, and it essentially covers all my expenses. And yeah, I solved the largest expense that one can have and is usually dragged down by, because the absorbent, I don't even know if that's a word, the excess amount of interest that they pay on said property. So with that being said, yeah, I bought the property for around $390,000, and I would suspect right around now, I've seen it, on a valuation calculator and market updates, it's been around 550, but I would suspect it's maybe around 600,000 with the updates that I've done to it, and the condition that the house is in now compared to when I bought it. So yeah, how did I do that at 24 years old? What were the very specific things that I changed about my life to be able to do that? And the first piece of information I would say regarding embarking on any journey of building wealth, creating change in your life, is you can do it. And it's truly about your mindset. No matter where you are, what circumstances you have, you are worthy, you are able, and you can create the circumstances necessary to take the risk that you want to take. With that being said, with any business that you create, and especially real estate, it's going to cost a lot much more than you think, more than you calculate, more than you're guessing. And it's going to take about double the time than you think it's going to take to reap the rewards that you want to reap, whether that's traditionally, getting a good tenant, or fixing it up, or with a business, making a business profitable. It's going to take a lot longer than you think. So with that fact, the most important thing that you need to focus on right now, if let's say you want to buy real estate or you want to build a business, if that's your mindset right now, and you don't know what kind of property, you don't know what kind of business, you still can leverage where you are now to make the odds that you succeed in the future very high odds. So it doesn't matter what job you're working, what you're doing for a career, if you're in college, if you have debt, if you are working a shitty job. What matters is you leverage where you are to give yourself the best amount of odds for a future risk to take. Specifically real estate, let's say. But this actually equates, this foundation equates to if you want to build and sustain a cash flow business, an online business, or a traditional business for the long term. The principles still apply. So if you're in a state where you want these things and you want to have a good likelihood of succeeding, the first step is always elimination. If you don't know what you want to do, it's eliminating any chains that you think you may have in this moment. So regarding business, it's going to cost a lot, and you're going to need money to sustain this. So how can you rid any financial chains that you have? Do you have any student debt if you're in college? Do you have any car debt? Do you have any credit card debt? Those are the three most likely that most people have. And if you haven't started a profitable business yet, and you want to, and that's something you want to achieve in the future, because if it's not, that's fine. But if you want that to happen in the future, there is in no way that you should have any of those lingering chains. And that's a huge mindset shift in itself, being like, wait a minute, I need to pay off this $30,000 of student loans. Well, let me tell you, if you want to create a real business that you're making real money, you paying off $30,000 in debt is nothing compared to the money that you want to or are going to make. So that mindset shift and that journey of you paying those things off is going to be pivotal on your journey to building a real cash flowing business or buying a successful property that is undervalued and you're able to add value to and find good tenants and have a consistent source of revenue. Okay, so you need to get rid of all debt as quick as possible. Don't be saving money. Don't have an emergency fund. Don't save this and be paying off this and that, and then this goes to my vacation fund. No, you need to use every cent you have, maybe minus like $1,000, to pay off debt and become free. Become free from chains. Because the moment that you sign on a property, you're going to have to put a lot of money into that. And if you have $500, $1,000, $300 every month going to debt and interest, you're going to fail a lot sooner. And ultimately, it's going to be a lesson you're going to learn from and you can still succeed. But that is something you're going to need to face. Get rid of debt. And as far as a specific financial foundation, specifically for property, and I would say a good standpoint to even sustain a business growth is make it your end-all be-all goal right now, however necessary, to make your net worth $100,000. And remember, getting rid of your debt is going to play into you making a $100,000 net worth as soon as possible. Because what happens is you need to get rid of the chains and then you have $10,000, $20,000, and you can get to $100,000 quicker by saving and making and not spending. You can get there. That's usually the quickest way possible to get to $100,000. Because sure, if you have $20,000 right now, but you have $30,000 of debt, student debt, your net worth is negative $10,000, and you're paying money every month, interest, wasted interest. So you're not going to be able to get to $100,000 unless you're making more money and you're saving at a faster rate. So get rid of the chains and get to $100,000, no debt, and cash as soon as possible. And build your credit, surely. The only goal with credit is getting the highest credit limit that you possibly can, meaning getting credit card increases and getting multiple credit cards, and just pay off everything that you use. Do not have any credit card debt. That is foolish at this stage in your game, and ever, to be honest. But regardless, $100,000, because then you can use a good amount of money to put a down payment. Then you can funnel money into building a business. And what happens when you don't know what really works in real estate or what really works in business is you are just going until something hits, essentially. And that's scary because you're going to doubt yourself. You're going to be in a state of lack and fear. But you need to put all of your cards in your favor to making this succeed. And that's the only thing that you need to worry about. Don't worry about learning how to buy real estate and buying things at the right cost to add equity and value. Like, no. Right now, get rid of debt, build your credit, sure, and save cash. I don't care what you're doing for a job, if you're working a college job, if you're bartending, if you're working a shitty job. Because you may not like this dynamic in your life, but the only way that you're going to be able to change it is by doing the best you can and taking the most noble action you can in this moment. So sure, if you want to not have this job in the future as well, this foundation is only going to help you. Because if you want to build an online business or a traditional business or real estate, you need to have this sort of foundation in place to be able to build and add money to this. So, okay, maybe you don't do real estate, but you have $100,000, you're working a job that you don't really like, but now you have some freedom and you have ability to put money into something to build something of value. So maybe that's an online business, maybe that's your traditional business, whatever it may be. You need to value your time and you need to value what is taking away your funds at this moment. And ultimately, yes, when you get to that $100,000 mark and build or buy a property and add some value to it, and you get a good tenant in place, or you build a business that's making money, Then you see what the function of your net worth increasing based off of value you're providing or the value you've created. But right now, like, you need to be just saving as much as you can and not spending as much as you can. And until you have $100,000 cash and your net worth is around $100,000, I wouldn't worry about anything else. Like, that's as simple as it is if you want to buy real estate. That's the only reason I was able to buy real estate. When my people around me were buying cars with $20,000 or getting a loan to buy a car and using their cash on that, and I was like, I'm paying off my student debt. I'm saving cash because I know I want to buy a property that's going to change my life in the future. And I know that I want to build a business in the future. So why would I be wasting all this money on this stuff right now when, yes, surely there'll come a point where it's going to be worth it for you to buy the nicer car or invest in the quality of your dynamic and lifestyle and have fun and take risk. But you'll do that when you have the money coming from the business that you've created to do that. And ultimately, that's the thing, is there's stages of doing things. But right now, if you want to buy real estate, and especially at a young age, I wasn't making that much money when I bought the property. But the leverage I had was I had insane credit and I had insane savings and I had no debt. That was literally why I was able to buy a property. I wasn't even making that much money. Right out of college, I was making $35,000. And then the next year, I was making like $56,000. And up until that, before that, I was working bartending, working 2 jobs. And yes, I was able to get rid of all my chains and leverage what I was doing, even though I didn't enjoy it, to build some cash and take some risk. And then that's a foundation where your life will change. But that journey and you getting there is a crazy journey, is a hard journey. And if you neglect these things, like you want to start a business potentially, and you just try, well, what happens? Like I said, it's always going to take longer and cost more than you think. So you're only going to set yourself up for failure if you have chains of debt in the beginning. If you have excess expenses in the beginning, you're only going to set yourself up for failure. And especially with a property too. Number one, you got to put a down payment in. And I recommend putting a good amount of a down payment in. I put 20% down. And you're going to have to put some work into it, put some sweat equity into it, and add money to and spend money to make this thing to a good position. The reason I have such a good tenant is because I've spent so much money making that that apartment as valuable as possible. So it's only attracted to the only people that would be able to even live there are good quality tenants because it's such a good place and the offer is so good. I mean, I'm even in a position right now where to keep my tenant, the amazing tenant that I have, I would lower the rent. That's crazy, right? Because he's such a good tenant. Because you have to value long-term sustainability over short-term money gains and short-term fixes and trying to do things in the short way. Everything is a long game. There's no such thing as passive income. I've owned this thing for 2 years, and it's been actively an active business and actively taking up a lot of my time. It's not passive. It's starting to get to the point now where things are automated and like I don't really need to be here. And it's, yeah, pretty much at that point now, but like that's by no mistake of like a lot of sweat equity and like focusing so much of my time on that. And the bottom line is I just want to tell you, you can do it. You can really do whatever you want if you put your cards in your favor. And even if you don't put the cards that you have right now in your favor, as long as you know that there's no such thing as failure and you can adapt and learn and grow and not quit, you will inevitably be able to achieve what you want to achieve. And yeah, I just want to remind you, it usually takes longer and costs more money. So just building a foundation to take risk. That's the bottom line of how I was able to buy a property when I was 24. Regardless, much love, guys. If you enjoyed that, consider subscribing, liking the video. I'm going to continue to put out videos like this, just sharing my experience, building a business, buying real estate, and any life insights that I have, and sharing my journey. Regardless, thank you. Peace.